An analysis of Robert Browning's monologue, Porphyria's Lover. Summary of Porphyria's Lover. Porphyria's Lover, which first appeared in 1836, is one of the earliest and most shocking of Browning's dramatic monologues, or poems in the form of a speech or narrative by a speaker in which the speaker inadvertently reveals aspects of his or her character while describing a particular situation or series of events. The speaker lives in a cottage in the countryside. His lover, a beautiful young lady with blue eyes and blonde hair named Porphyria, comes in out of the storm and proceeds to make a fire to warm the cottage. She embraces the speaker, offering him her bare shoulder. He tells us that he does not speak to her, but she is murmuring how she loved him, but is too weak to set her passions free from pride and to dissever vainer ties, or that she is too weak, perhaps emotionally, to give in to her passion and have a lasting relationship with him. He adds, however, that passion sometimes would prevail. He looks up at her eyes, which he describes as happy and proud, and realizes that she worships him. Realizing that she will eventually give in to society's pressures by not having a relationship with him and wanting to preserve the moment, he wraps her hair around her neck 3 times and strangles her. He opens her eyes, and it is unclear if she is dead yet, and he says her eyes laughed without a stain, and then he untightened her hair around her neck, which makes her face seem to blush beneath his burning kiss, and he then props her head against his cheek. Notice the reversal in his cheek being against her before, and now hers is against his. He describes her as having a smiley, rosy little head, so glad it has its utmost will, and that all it scorned at once is fled, and he has gained its love instead. He goes on to say that Porphyria has not guessed how her darling one wish would be heard. He sits with her body this way the entire night, remarking that God has not yet moved to punish him. Analysis of Porphyria's Lover. By telling the disturbing event that occurs in this narrative poem through the perspective of Porphyria's lover rather than through her perspective is significant because we see only his version of her feelings and his justification for murdering her through strangulation. We are left to guess his motivation or why he has done such a horrific deed. The poem only gives a few details to leave the reader to try to interpret the situation and the psychology behind the speaker's actions. What we do know is what Porphyria looks like and wears, a dripping cloak and shawl, and soiled gloves, which may suggest she is not poor. We also know she came to him and seems to hold the power in the relationship, at least until she is strangled by her lover, since she came to him, makes the fire, bears her shoulder to him, and puts his hand around her waist. We are not sure what makes her pale or too weak to set her passions free from pride and cut what he calls vain ties. Perhaps she is married to another, or of a higher social class, that does not allow her to commit herself to a relationship with the speaker. We know the relationship has been going on for a while, since he says that sometimes passion prevails between them. Notice the shift in power, perhaps indicating that the speaker has taken power from her that he did not have up to this point. He looks up into her eyes, which are described as proud, perhaps again a suggestion of her social status. He is the one who says she worshipped him, but he says this revelation surprises him, indicating that it may or may not have been true in the past, or that at all, and is just in his mind. He also says that she is pure and good only in that moment, as if she is not always pure and good. Her impurity in his perspective could mean she does not love him fully, or is not married to him, or even is married to another. The reader must guess. After she is strangled, we don't know if her wish, which he suggests is to die in his arms, is in fact her wish. But since he has taken her life, the speaker now holds all of the power in the relationship. Porphyria, whom he is now using the pronoun it to refer to, has been reduced to an item in her lover's arms. She is given no voice in this poem, and we are left to hear only her murderer's voice and guess how she has felt about the relationship. The speaker ends the poem with, "And yet God has not said a word," suggesting that since God has not intervened and has allowed this to happen, that God approves of what the speaker has done, which, of course, could be the speaker's psychotic justification for taking Porphyria's life. Context of Porphyria's lover. For the Victorians, modernity meant an insensitivity to problems of urban life, with its constant overstimulation and newspapers full of scandalous and horrifying stories that numbed people to shock. Many believed that the onslaught of amorality and the constant assault on the senses could be counteracted only with an even greater shock. This is the principle Browning adheres to in Porphyria's Lover. Browning uses shock to break through his reader's probable complacency by having Porphyria's lover murder her, and thus he provokes some moral or emotional reaction in his presumably numb audience. Browning is not necessarily trying to shock readers into condemning either Porphyria or the speaker for their sexuality. Rather, he seeks to remind us of the disturbed condition of the modern psyche by giving us a glimpse into a murderer's mind. In fact, Porphyria's Lover was first published along with another poem under the title Madhouse Cells, exploring the psychology of a psychotic person. Like many Victorian writers, Browning was also trying to explore the boundaries of sensuality in his work. Browning also questions the Victorian condemnation of human sexuality in a society that had one of the highest rates of prostitution in history, as well as wide-scale poverty, pollution, crime, colonization, and other horrors. By having Porphyria's lover murder her as a means of keeping her, it seems to minimize the crime of illicit sex outside of wedlock, or perhaps adultery. Form of Porphyria's Lover. Porphyria's Lover does not display the colloquialisms of some of Browner's later poems. While the cadence of the poem mimics natural speech, it actually takes the form of highly patterned verse, rhyming A, B, A, B, B. The intensity and asymmetry of the pattern suggests the madness concealed within the speaker's controlled speech and reasoned justification of the murder of his lover that evening, whom he is still holding in his arms.